Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Kodeations coming at you today with another video on Heroes War Counterattack. Today we're going to be diving into my top 5 beginner tips. That is right, I'm going to be giving you guys all of the information that you need to know to hopefully start out in the game strong and not make any mistakes early game, and or if you have some questions that you still are not sure if you need to do or not do, then hopefully these top 5 beginner tips will help you out. But as always, before we dive in, if you are new to the channel, please be sure to hit that red subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you get a notification every time we drop a video. We do a lot of mobile gaming content, and we are always looking for the next best mobile game and or one that you think that we would like to potentially feature on the channel. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Diving right in, ladies and gentlemen, the first #1 tip on my list is going to be none other than hopping over to the contract section in the game. And now I know every single new player in this game as a beginner, maybe you have played other games like this, but nevertheless, you're going to be very, very tempted early game to see the amount of diamonds that you accumulate, and then you're going to want to spend those diamonds on a specific hero. So to give you guys an example, Darcia here, you can actually buy her for 1,200 gems or diamonds, and you can see that we are currently sitting at that 4,300 mark. So why wouldn't we buy her, right? If we want to test her out, we want to play her, you know, we should go ahead and buy her. Well, that is going to be a massive mistake in my opinion. I think early game, it's very, very, very crucial that you don't spend any resources and you save resources like diamonds and gems and that sort of thing, you know, for something greater later on. And instead, the game will actually give you, as you complete content in the game will actually give you 4 to 5 contracts within like the first 4 to 5 days of actually playing the game. So therefore you can utilize those contracts and basically hire somebody off of this list, you know, per those contracts, instead of actually spending your diamonds early game. Because again, like I said, with any beginner tips and tricks when it comes to games like this, especially with a gacha system, you can't be too sure. So getting in here and wasting your diamonds or your gems on something as simple as a contract that the game actually gives you contract cards for, just isn't very valuable in my opinion, especially as a beginner tip. That's going to be the #1 tip. Now moving on to the #2 tip, and that is going to be for your second contract. Okay, so the game will give you a contract for your second contract. A lot of people dive in and they are suggesting you pick up Popo. Now Popo is this guy right here, this little raccoon. He is a very, very good healer, and a lot of people, when they are creating tier lists, have put them on the top of the list for a tier list. Now I am not arguing with that tier list whatsoever. Popo is an absolutely amazing hero or mercenary to pick up and definitely use, but as a beginner or an early game guide, it is not recommended, in my opinion, on the second contract to pick up Popo. And the reason why I'm going to venture to say that is when you are grinding out these games and you are hardcore pushing, you know, to try to cover as much content as possible, you know, you don't want to pick up a support class. What you need to pick up is you need to pick up a damage dealer, somebody that is going to be able to just continue to push through and progress through, you know, the story mode, whether, you know, basically any content in the game. You know, a damage dealer is going to be way better, especially if they've got really good damage. Maybe their skills play off of that damage, you know, a little bit of sustainability, that sort of thing. That's going to be where your cream of the crop is going to come in, especially for a beginner or an early game player. And again, this goes across the board with any types of games like these. You know, picking up a support class early on is not really the best case scenario for that specific player. And instead, you should mitigate that, throw it in on a damage dealer to carry you. Now, I mentioned that. Who would I recommend you picking up? Well, in my opinion, I would personally recommend picking up somebody like Talia. And the reason why I say that is because she's just got a really overall good damage dealing build. Like, she does like super good damage. She works well in pretty much any team comp. She's a range class, so she's not getting smacked up front by like a tank, you know what I mean? And you're not worried about her dying off super early as being like a squishy heals if somebody happens to jump across enemy lines, that sort of thing. So I mean, again, I think Talia is a very good option. Another option would be picking somebody that, you know, is another good damage or DPS, you know, of your choice. So again, you can go through here, you know, funnel through, find out who you really, you know, like. maybe you read their skills, you know, find out if that's a DPS that you would like or maybe fits with your team comp. But I would highly recommend you do not pick up somebody like Popo on your second contract. Now, yeah, by all means, third, fourth, fifth contract, you know, pick up Popo. He'll definitely add a lot to your team as a support healer, but definitely, in my opinion, as a beginner tip, not number one. Now, that leads me into the next thing. If you happen to come over here before you watch my video on the number one mistake that a lot of players make on the summoning is thinking when they pull that SSR card, you know, they're thinking that I get that hero, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you made that mistake. If you've made that mistake, this is going to be the tip that comes in clutch for you because maybe instead of picking up Talia, you actually pick up the card, you know, you pick up the hero that you pick the card for. So like, as long as they're not another support class, right? Or somebody that's not a very good or not very vital to you early game or, you know, whatever, maybe their kit isn't as strong, as long as they are a decent damage dealer or a damage dealer in general, and you've picked up the SSR card for them, then that might make a massive difference. Then I would suggest if you made that mistake, then to get into the contract section, hunt that hero down, look at their skills, find out if they're a good damage dealer or, you know, they have the ability to do decent damage in the long run. The more you level them up, of course, then by all means, then pick up that person as well if you have made that mistake. It's not a bad way to go, especially because you've utilized that SSR card and you don't want to waste it. Moving on to the third thing is going to be very, very prevalent when it comes to a lot of energy based system games or stamina driven games. And that is going to be, do not, in my opinion, 100%, I cannot stress it enough to beginner players or new players, do not come here and collect all of this free energy that you are given, whether it's from events, whether it's from GMs, as you can see here, from just logging into the game, from, you know, hitting certain milestones, any free energy that the game gives you, do not come here and collect it immediately. And the reason why that is a massive mistake is for a couple different reasons. The first one, your energy your inbox energy has a time limit, right? So you can see right here, the ones that we've collected, you can see we've got 5 days left on this in order to collect it. This one here, we've got 4 days left on this in order to collect it. Now, right off of the bat, 100%, I recommend you don't wait out the timer, you know, for the last absolute minute if you're going to forget about it and it's going to go away forever and you're not going to have it, okay? So clearly, I don't want you to make that mistake because that is a chance to make that mistake. What I want you to do is I want you to utilize the energy to your advantage. And so that leads me to the second point when it comes to the energy tip is going to be this cap right here that you can see we're currently on 75 as of right now as my account sits. As we get a higher level in the account, that amount will go up that we can hold and store and bank. But if we were to use less than, let's say this number here, this 91 actually went down. It went down to, I don't know, 30 something, let's say. Once that number goes down to 30 something, then it will then over time generate from that 30 something back up to the 75. But once it hits 75, it will no longer generate any more energy or stamina. It's going to cap out and that's it. So basically the game's doing nothing for you in that sense. When you log off, you close the game out. If you are sitting on more energy on the left-hand side than you are on the right. Now you might be asking yourself, but Kodeations, you have 91 here out of 75. No, and you're completely right. I did collect something. I just went ahead and grabbed that, but I know that I'm about to play and burn this energy. Do you know what I mean? And because I'm about to burn and utilize this energy, that is okay. And that's what I was getting at by saying utilize this energy to your advantage. If you know that you're going to be able to open up the game and grind out the game to burn and expel a large amount of energy, well, try to determine what that amount of energy is, collect that amount of energy. Once you collect that amount of energy, do your runs, do everything you need to do, dwindle that energy back down to 0, so then that way when you close out of the app, it will continue to generate, you know, that stamina or that energy back up to whatever your max is. Like I said, our current max is that 75, so we're gonna be playing out this 91 energy or stamina all the way down to 0 before we get off of the game. We're gonna get off of the game and then we're gonna allow it to slowly build back up to 75, so then when we hop back on, we are a-okay and ready to go again to spend the energy. But that's basically giving you guys a general like tip on, you know, just make sure that you're utilizing the energy properly, especially for those free-to-play players. If you are not a if you are a free-to-play player, you're going to 100% not want to buy energy with real money because you're free-to-play. So therefore, don't get yourself down that rabbit hole where you're just constantly claiming all of your energy. Once the energy is up and burned, it's not generating any energy. You got to buy more, etc., etc. The list goes on of just, you know, a rabbit hole when it comes to energy. But just make sure that you're making the energy work for you in all ways possible. That leads me into the next thing. If you are, storing up your energy just like this, as you can see that we currently have, hoarding up this energy, waiting out the day timers that count those down, or as needed, then that also will allow you to be able to cover and get additional, cover additional content and get better gear, because you will have more stamina to cover a stage that you have, progressed to, eventually. And once you progress to that higher stage, the gear is going to be better, everything's going to be better. So therefore, you will have more energy at that point to utilize on that stage instead of grinding out a lower stage. So again, all around, it's a really good tip just for you to understand and to know. Moving on to the next one and my fourth tip on the list, and that is going to bring if you are going to be busy, do not hesitate to get in here and at least burn your stamina. You want to make sure that you get in here and you're utilizing that. Some of those things can be like the trace specimens. You spend actually a little bit more stamina here than you do on your current lineup. So to give you guys an example, if we come here to like this and we click the enter button, you can see we're going to spend up to 8 stamina on this run versus like the standard 3, I believe is what it is in the actual adventure mode or story mode. Let's see here real quick, just to verify that for you guys. Nope. So if we go to, I'm going to click something here. Yeah. So you can see, our standard is 3 stamina or energy. So you can spend it something on like that. If you don't have a lot of time, but you still want to grind out some gear, then I would highly recommend getting in here, running some trace specimens. Another one would be like the boss trivia. There's just so many other ways that you can spend that. And that's what I would highly recommend doing, is that if you don't have a lot of time, you're not going to sit there and grind forever, that kind of thing. You still want to try to cap out your zero or your energy at 0, so then that way the game is still working for you in the long run. So that's going to be kind of how that is. Last but not least, the other thing that you could do with that energy is going to be heading over to the story mode and running 10-time autos on whatever the last stage that you have 3-starred. So for instance, ours would be 12-7. You could come in here, you can click the stamina button, you can tick on this auto, repeat button. Let's say you do have more stamina than, what, you have allotted here. You can also click on this option here and you can do, auto recharge, energy with diamonds if that's something that you're into. But nevertheless, you want to make sure that you are just basically utilizing that stamina and maximizing your stamina as much as possible. And that could be from all different sorts. But again, whatever time you have available, make sure you are utilizing it and make sure the game is working for you in your favor and not just, hoarding up your stamina. As you can see right here, if we were to get off, this would be an absolute waste because it's not going to generate. So that's going to be kind of it. The tip 3 and 4 kind of merge together a little bit. They're 2 different topics, but they're still on energy. So moving on to the last but not least tip, and that is going to be the crafting and research. Make sure that you are always crafting items when you close out of the game or you get done doing whatever you're going to do. And you can see over here on the right, we have done that with this. You can see we've got, in the last session that we were playing, you can see that we currently have items that we have completed that we can come in here and collect those items. And then the same thing goes with the card research option. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you are constantly running card research. This is how you're going to get bigger and better, cards in the game. This is how you're going to progress these cards. This is basically how you're going to progress in the game in general, is just basically making sure that you are, doing these things to aid you on off time. So when you are playing, you can take advantage of those things. I mean, that's pretty much what it all comes down to. I mean, that's going to be it for my top 5 beginner tips. I mean, again, they're kind of straightforward when it comes to a lot of min-maxers and hardcore players. That's why this video is labeled as beginner tips. But again, I cannot stress it enough. Just making sure that the game is utilizing its ability to work for you as much as possible, and you not working for the game. And I mean by you logging in, you're constantly trying to level up stuff, with your crafting, your card research and stuff on the fly. Oh, you need this. Oh, you don't have this. Oh, you're shy on this. Just make the game work for you, and I promise you it'll be a better experience. But that's going to be my top 5 tips for Heroes War Counterattack. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any other suggestions for some beginners. Hopefully people are watching this video later on, they can find these tips useful, and not only whatever the ones you drop down in the comments. The same thing goes with any additional games. If you think that we would like a specific game, you want us to feature it on the channel, drop it down below in the comments. We'll take a look at it and hopefully feature it on the channel. But that's going to be it for me, guys. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get a notification every time I drop a video, and I will see you guys on the next one.